We're holding in Bava Kama.
12th of October, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Hope you're Daled. Okay, so we did so we unpacked this this Mishnah in Kalim over here. And just gonna sum up what we did yesterday. We brought the four cases of the Brisa, the Mishnah and Kalim, and the last two are the ones that really concern us about the Ganav and the Gazlan, and Machlokes, Chachamim, Tanakama, and Rabbi Shimon, whether the Gazlan's Machshava, the Ganav's Machshava can be Matame, meaning to make the thing that he stole susceptible to ritual impurity when he says that he wants to use it now without doing any further malacha to the item that he stole. And Ula said, we had two opinions, we had Ula and we had Rava. Ula said that the whole machlokes between them is in the case where we don't know whether the owner was miyash, and he said, "Vayin lechesron kiss." That's the machlokes between them. But if it's known that he was in fact miyash, so then dibra kol yesh koni. So we see very clearly that according to Ula, all the Tanoim hold that Yeush by itself is koine. So the Gazlan himself can make a kinyan, even without selling it or transferring it to a third party. And Rabbi says that even if we know that he was miyash, also that is a machlokes between Rabbi Shimon and the Chachamim. Because even if we have heard that they were miyash, that's not. He holds it's not a Yush Gomor from a Gazlan because he doesn't give up on getting his item back from the Gazlan or the Ganav. So he holds that both Tanoim hold that Yehush is not an absolute kinyan. Okay. Now we go to Amalei Abaye L'Rabba. And this could be found, Amalei Abaye L'Rabba.
It's on 114A4, left-hand column, third paragraph.
Thank you, Lou. Okay, who's available to read over here this morning? Alan, would you like to read for us?
The first paragraph, Amoraim?
The third paragraph. The next one after Amoraim.
Oh, okay. The Gemora challenges Rabba from the language of this very Mishnah, right?
Yeah.
All right. Amor lay Abai the Rabbah. Rabbi said to Rabba, lo sif log lay the law. Do not argue with Ula. Disnan miss the scene for we have learned in the Mishnah that the truth is with him. Lefi shalo shu haba or lim. Rabbi Shimon says, etc. But in the case of eyes of a thief, thought does not render them susceptible to tumor because their owners did not despair of recovering them. Tamor Adelo Nisya a Shu Haba Olim. Rabbi Shimon states that the reason is that the owners did not despair, which implies Aval Nisya a Shu Haba Olim Hare Ailu Shalom. But if the owners did despair, the heart would belong to the thief, and his thought would render them susceptible to tumor. I'll do this last few lines here. Rabbi replies, Amalei, he said to Abai, Anan Lefi She'ain Yeyush Liva or Lis Masan Lo. We learned that the mission is saying because there is no despair on the part of their owners, of the owners.
Okay. So let's see what was the Abaye saying to Rabbah, and what was Rabbah's response to what Abaye said to him. So Abaye said to Rabbah, Rabbah was the one that said just a minute ago, even in the case where we know that the Bailim was Mi'ayish, we heard him say the words Baili L'Chesed Kiss. Even in that case, we have a machloikis, whether or not that is a real Yeush. Because maybe he's in the heart of hearts, he's gonna be Tovei the guy in Bezdin. That's what he's really planning to do. So Abaye says to Rabbah, he said, but that's not what Ula holds. Ula holds that if we would know that he said those words, kiss, then everybody would agree that that constitutes a valid Yeush, and that valid Yeush is by itself kohenim, and the Gazan could make a kinyan, and therefore his machshava could make the things be susceptible to ritual impurity. Why does the bias? What bias says? Don't argue with Ula, because the Mishnah is like him. Now, there should be a Rashi over here, because the words of Abaye are a bit cryptic. Abaye says, Lefi shalom nisyaishu habaylim. In other words, those are the words of our Mishnah. If you'll take a look in our Mishnah, I think we're going to see those words. Where do we see those words in our Mishnah? In which Mipnei she'habaylim misyashin mehem. That was the case, right? He turns the words a little bit around, but it's, I think, basically the same point. Lefi shalom. Oh, he says lefi shalom nisyashu habaylim. Lefi shalom nisyashu habaylim. Well, those are not the words of our Mishnah. No, we don't have those words in our Mishnah. So where is he talking about? Which Mishnah is he talking about? Which Mishnah is Abaye talking about? The Tanan b'Masnisin Kavase. Where's that Mishnah? Oh, you know what? it looks to me like Abaye is saying that he has that text in our Mishnah. Oh, maybe that's what Rashi's going to tell us. These words, Lefi Shalom Nisyashu Abaylim, he's talking about what Reb Shimon said. Reb Shimon said that the machshava of the Ganav is not going to help to make it royal Kabbalah's Tuma, susceptible to ritual impurity. His machshava is not going to help. That's the language that he has according in the Mishnah, according to Rabbi Shimon. One second. We have that. Oh, no. That is what we have. Oh, I'm sorry. See, which Mishnah are we talking about over here? We got two Mishnahs that we're talking about. So you got to know which Mishnah that Abaye means when he says the Mishnah is a support to Ula. He's talking not about our Mishnah in Bava Kama. He's talking about the Mishnah in Kalim that the Gemora brought. In the Mishnah in Kalim, Reb Shimon says, Omer Piluv Advorim, Shel Gazlan Machshava Batamasan, V'Shel Ganev. But the Ganev, his Machshava is not Batamasan, and he says, Lefi Shalo Nitzyaishu Habaylim. Because he holds that the owner of the item that was thieved away from him in the middle of the night by the Ganav, he is not miyayish. He's not miyayish. Let's take a look and see which Rashi it is that we're talking about over here. The Tanan b'mas Nisan, yes. Dibur Masil, the Tanan b'mas Nisan. That Rashi, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down from the bottom. I'm sorry, it's 6 lines up from the bottom, almost at the bottom of the column of Rashi. And the last word in the line starts with the Tanan. The Masnisan.
The Tanan.
I think Rashi is quoting. Yeah.
You gotta see which Mishnah. The Tanan b'mas Nisan we taught in our Mishnah. Okay, so what did we teach in our Mishnah? Hachia b'mas Nisan, the Mishnah, the Orot, the Taharot about the hides or the skins that are Tahar. The Katani that was taught Lefi according Shalo Yaisho Habelim, that the owners did not have Yayush on those skins, those hides. I don't know if this next Yashi is part of it or not.
Right. So the Gemora said what Alan read. The Gemora said, Abaye is the one who said it. He said he's inferring from these words of Reb Shimon on the Mishnah in Keli with the hides that in the case of the Ganav, when it's Ganvid in the middle of the night, his machshava in regard to these oros to use it as is and not make shoes out of it is nevertheless not going to make it susceptible to tumah. Why? Because the Bailim is absolutely not Miyayish. He's not Miyayish. He wants to get it back. He's hoping to get it back. So on that, Abaye said, Taima, what's the reason for the din in the according to Reb Shimon? The load is Yashua Bailim. Because he wasn't Miyayish. But the inference would be Aval, language of Abaye, this Yaishu Abayim, if he would in fact have been Miyayish in that case, if he would have said Bayim L'Chesed Kis, Hooray, Elu Shalom, then the heights would belong to the Ganav. And therefore you see, not like Rabbah. Rabbah said, oh, even though he says it, he doesn't really mean it. He's gonna get him in Bezdin, he's gonna do something, he's gonna this and that, the other thing. It doesn't even if he says it, it's not determinative. And Abai is saying, Rabbi, you can't argue with Ula over here because the Mishnah says like him. The only reason, according to Reb Shimon, that it doesn't make a difference if the Machshava of the Ganav is because the Bailing was not Miyayish, but the inference is if he would have been Miyayish, so then we would have accepted his Yerush as a real Yerush. Let's see the next Rashi. She'ein Yerush lebailim.
There's no Yerush of the owners. Ein Yerush. Ein Yeoshan Yerush.
Yeah.
It says that their Yerush is not, the spare is not considered a Yerush. Okay. This is a Moches.
Okay, so yeah.
Moches, Gazlan, Lifton. There are the three cases there of the custom collector, the bandit, or the robber who comes to the house and highway robber him, the listing, and a ganav, and a
Gazlan, listing, ganav.
Four cases here.
Okay, I'm not so sure what Rashi means to say with those four words, but the first three words that he said, I think I may have misled people. This I didn't realize at the time because Rashi is he's not quoting the whole language of the Gemora, but this Dibra Maskil is not what Abaye is saying, but this is what the response that Rabbah is saying to the inference that Abaye made. Abaye is saying, Rabbah, I have an inference from the Mishnah that in Kalim that argues with you, because it says because he wasn't Miyayish, and therefore you can infer that if he was in fact Miyayish, if he did in fact say the words, we would accept it from him, and we would say that he really was Miyayish, and therefore the din would be that the Ganav would his words of Machshava would be Matamasa. On that, Rabbah is saying, no, that's not, Abaye, you got it wrong. That's not what the words in the Mishnah that Reb Shimon are saying mean. That's not what they mean. The full language of Rabbah in the Gemora is Anan. He's saying to Abaye, Anan, look, we understand those words as follows. This is how we understand the words of the Mishnah, because there's no Yeush to those words that the Bailim said. There's no halakhic Yeush in those words that the Bailim said. He may have said the actual words that constitute Yeush, Bailim L'Chesed Kis, but those words is not going to be a Yeush for the Bailim. That's how we read those words in the Mishnah, and accordingly, there's no deal to say that if he did in fact say the words, then we would accept it as a true Yerush. That's what Rashi means to say over here. Yeushon Yeush. His Yeush is not a Yeush. Why is it not a Yeush? Because according to Rabbah, even though he said those words, he doesn't really mean them 100%. He doesn't really mean them. It's just sort of, he's saying, "Oi, I." It's like a person. It's like a person says, "Oi, I lost my wallet, right? Buy the Chesed Kis. Oh, woe to me that I don't have my wallet." Does that mean that the guy's not going to try to find his wallet? It just means that he's saying, "Oi, my wallet is missing." Yeah, your wallet is missing, but you're going to go to try and get it, right? Of course you are. We can hear Rabba very strongly. What it does though is calls into question the whole Vaili L'Chesed Kiss, and that's what Rabba is saying. Rabba is saying that even when a person says that's not necessarily going to be a halachic yeush that will confer ownership on a ganav or a gazlan. Okay. And now, so in other words, Rabbi has pushed off a biased proof and rejects it b'shtei yadayim completely. Now we go on to Tanan. Now, this is our Mishnah because we're talking here about the muchasin, not the muchasin hamoro. That was our Mishnah here in 114a in Bava Kama. Right? Okay, who would like to read? Lou, would you like to read?
Yes, I would like to read.
Hooray!
We're on what? Come and learn, Tashma.
Tanan, Notlu Muchasin Chamoro.
Tanan. Oh, that
Paragraph
okay.
at the bottom.
We learned in our Mishnah, Natlu Mochsin Chamoro Kule. If a customs collector took his donkey, etc. Mani. Who is this? Whose opinion is this? E. Rabbanan Kasha Gazland. If you're going to say that it's the rabbis, then that presents a difficulty regarding the armed robber. E. Rabbi Shimon Kasha Ganav. If you're going to say it's Rabbi Shimon, then it's a difficulty with the stealthy thief. Bishlema leolam da'amar biyadua kane. It's fine according to Ula that he says when it's known, he acquires. Hacha nami here too, biyadua v'divrei hakol. Here too, where it's known, everyone agrees. Ella the Rabba damar biyadua nami machlokas. But according to Rabba, who says that the dispute is even where it's known. Hainami. Who says this? Lo Rabbanan, it's not the rabbis. Below Rabbi Shimon, it's not Rabbi Shimon.
Okay, so the Gemora is bringing the Mishnah, and it's asking a question on the Mishnah that we don't really understand. I don't really understand it because it involves an intricate understanding of all of the details of the Mishnah and making the calculation and et cetera, et cetera. But whatever it is, maybe we'll try to figure out what the question is. But basically, what the Gemara is coming out with is based upon this question that we have asked, says the Gemara. If you learn like Ula, and you hold that the homachlokas in the Mishnah between Reb Shimon and the Chachamim is only when we don't know that the Bailim said Bailim the Chesron kiss. But if we would know that the Bailim did say Bailim the Chesron kiss, so then everybody would agree that the Yeush is Kona. In that case, we wouldn't have a difficulty with the Mishnah. We would just say that we'll say that the Mishnah is talking about that case of Yedua, that we know that the Bailim said Bailim has kiss, and then it would come out Dibra Kol, and somehow like that we wouldn't have the kasha that the Gemara is asking in the Mishnah. But if we would go according to Rabbah said that's not an answer for Rabbah, because Rabbah doesn't hold that. Rabbah says even when we know that the Bailim said Bailim Chesron kiss, Rabbah says that's not necessarily an actual giving up of relinquishment of the ownership of the item on the part of the Bailim. So in that case, that's what Rabbah holds. So even though he said that, so we still have a machlokes, and if so then the Mishnah is difficult. We can't resolve the inconsistency, not to say that it's according to Rabbanan or according to Shimon. That's the basic structure of the Mishnah. And for what it's worth, Rashi, I think, in those four mystical words that he said, Muchas Gasan, Listim Ganav, in those four words, Rashi was explaining the whole calculation that the Gemora made to ask this question. But those four words are not enough for me to understand what the calculation is and what the difficulty is with the Mishnah. So if we want to understand what exactly the Gemora is asking over here, we're going to have to put on our thinking caps. That's right. We're going to have to think this one through. Now, first of all, we're going to have to see what it is that the Gemora is pointing out in the Mishnah over here. So the Gemara is quoting the words of the Mishnah that says, Notlu Muchasein Chamoro. And Notlu Listim Es Suso. Where do those words appear in our Mishnah? Yeah, those are the first words of the Mishnah. First words of the Mishnah say, the Muchasin, the collectors, the customs collectors, they took the chamor of Jew number 1, we said, and they gave to Jew number 2, or they gave them back. They gave back to Jew number 1, the chamor of Jew number 2. I'd rather say it the other way around because I said it the other way around the last time we did it. let's say it like this: the collectors, they took the chamor of Jew number 1, and they gave him. Oh, I'm getting mixed up. Jew number 1 and Jew number 2. Oh boy. The tax collectors took the chamor of Jew of one Jew, and they gave him back a chamor of a different Jew. That's what happened, right? And similarly, what happened with the listing? The Gazlanim, listing is another word for Gazlanim. That they took a garment. They took the garment of one Jew and they gave back to that Jew a different garment that belongs to a different Jew. So they gave him back a garment that they had presumably stolen from somebody else. So it's stolen merchandise. The Mishnah says, "Harei elu shelo." The Mishnah says, "Harei elu shelo." The Jew that was given the garment from the listing and was given the chamor from the collectors, he can keep it. It belongs to him. Why? And the Mishnah says, "Mipnei she'bailim is yaishim mehen," because the owner of that item that was taken from him, he was beyayish from it. So when that item is now given back, it's not given back. It's given to a different Jew. That different Jew can keep it. Okay. Now that we know what the Gemora is talking about, that's what it's talking about. Now, what's the problem that the Gemora is bringing over here? The Gemora wants to know money. Which opinion over here? Does that Reisha of the Mishnah? That's the Reisha of the Mishnah that we just got through reading. That Reisha is whose opinion? The Mishnah doesn't say whose opinion it is. I thought that it was because it was unnamed. I figured that was the opinion of the Rabbanan. But the Gemara here asks the question: whose opinion is it? Because why? Because the Gemara is going to point out that based upon what we are going to find out later on from the Mishnah in Kalim, that there's a machlokes between Rabbanan and Reb Shimon. Now, when we go to our Mishnah in Bava Kama, and we look and see who's the opinion over here in the Mishnah in Bava Kama expressing. Is it expressing the Rabbanan, or is it expressing the opinion of Rabbi Shimon? Or does it go according to everybody? That's why it doesn't say who it is. So the Gemara says we got a problem. What's the problem? It doesn't seem to go like either Rabbanan or Rabbi Shimon. Now, the question is, that's the Gemara's question over here. I Rabbanan, Kashi Gazlan. I Rabbi Shimon, Kashi Ganav. Now, why is this? What's the kasha over here that the Rabbanan have? We're going to take the first question first. The Gemara asks, if this Mishnah over here, which says that so now, that's the question over here. Kasha Gazlan. Now, I think we need some background information over here. And there's a note that's being provided over here that's going to give us some important information. In other words, when we say the Muchasim, how are we going to categorize this collector? Would you call this guy a Ganav, or would you call this guy a Gazlan? What would you call him? He's a Gazlan, right? He's not a Ganav. He's not coming into your house in the middle of the night and taking the tax money away from you. He's saying, give me that thing for the taxes. And if you don't give it to him, I'm going to take it. So he's a Goslin. So first of all, we have to know that when we're talking about Uchasing in the Mishnah, we're halachically he's defined as a Goslin. So he's got a din of a Goslin. Okay. And now, if so then we have a bit of a difficulty. Because the next words of the Mishnah are talking about listing to take the garment. Well, in its general usage, the word listing is referring to a Goslin. Generally speaking, that's what listing are. Then we define them as Gazlanim, that they take forcefully, not in self. And so here, that we have a problem with that, with saying that in the Mishnah. You know what the problem is? Because we just got through saying the din of the Muchasing. And we just got through saying that the Muchas is categorized as a Goslin. So the Mishnah doesn't need to tell me in the second case of the Mishnah what happens if another Goslin takes instead of a chamor, but he takes a suit from somebody. You don't need to hear that case. It's obviously going to have the same din as the case of the Muchas, because the Muchas is categorized as a Goslin, and so therefore that's the background information that we have to understand over here. That when we are talking about a listing in the Mishnah, when it uses the word notul listing as kasuso, that the listing took his garments and they gave it to somebody else, we got to understand that really this listing, he's not the type of a listing that the Mishnah doesn't mean to refer to somebody who has a halachic categorization as a Goslin. He's got a halachic categorization as a Ganiv. And I see that at that point we are out of time. So we're in the middle of trying to explain this question that the Gemora is asking. And that is what those are the 4 words of Rashi. If you'll take a look at the 4 words of Rashi, that's what Rashi's telling us. It took me 15 minutes to say what Rashi said in 4 words. Rashi says, Muchas is a Goslin over here. And listing, he's a Ganiv. That's what Rashi means over here.
Go ahead, Rabbi.
It's also Baruch Hashem. Okay.
10:30 tomorrow.
Have a great day, everybody. Shabbat shalom to the field.
Have a good day and be careful.
Shabbos gracious.
Don't take any chances.
Yeah, I'm on kind of like I was told, be careful for tomorrow. Then we don't know what's happening tomorrow. Do it day by day. If I'm gonna leave tomorrow or not to go to the kids. I don't know. Okay, take care.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Be careful.